as per usual, as you're coming into this webinar, you guys know how I do it. State where you're from, where you guys coming in live from. It's always interesting to see what we get. Justin, last time we had someone from South Africa. We had Singapore. It was insane. So I always just like seeing who's in the house.
Cool, man. Love it.
All right, we got Chicago, we got Denver, we got Scottsdale. Shout out to Arizona. It's way, way more warm than where I'm at right now.
I saw Bucharest, Romania, Colombia. This is cool. All right.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's cool. It was snowing in Atlanta, so I need to go back to Phoenix or something, right?
What's up to Portland? I'll be in Portland on Thursday through Sunday. Good to see some folks from Portland coming in.
Nice. Oh, we got the Czech Republic. Okay.
Nice.
Shout out Czech.
Nice. Dang.
Just
nobody from Ohio. Come on now.
Hey, what's happening? Shout out to the Toronto. Shout out to the Six. Hey, ATL. Shout out to ATL. That's where I'm from.
Wow, lots of Torontos.
Holy Toronto's coming in hot.
Toronto's blowing up, man. Toronto is a major startup player right now.
Yeah, it is,
dude. Huge.
Shout out to Brazil.
Columbus, go Bucks.
There you go,
Michael. There we go, Michael.
Dude, you guys are gonna make Justin sad.
Nice, man.
All right, awesome, guys. So, as you guys, just keep flowing in. Obviously, I know people are continuously going to come in, but again, for time's sake, I want to hop into it because Justin and I got a lot of great stuff that we want to cover today. So I'm going to go and share my screen. And as this goes throughout this webinar, if you have questions, we will get to them at the end. So we got you. And then if there's further questions, Justin and I are very responsive on LinkedIn, so you can hit us up there. So I want you guys to know that as we're going in here. All right, so everyone here should be able to see my screen, and we're gonna talk about what you guys are here for today, which is killer LinkedIn strategies to help you all crush quota in 2020. And I could thought of no one better to link up with than Justin, who has written a course on these topics. And also we've talked back and forth. He's been on my YouTube channel, so we decided to pair up here. And also as well, just as you guys go into this webinar today, it's gonna be very tactical base. We're also going to get some just very awesome stuff from Justin's viewpoint. But as we go throughout this, I just encourage you all to do something with this information. It's great to hang out here and talk about all the great stuff we're going to talk about, but take this information and execute on it. So whether that's 1, 2, or 3 things that you get from today, I encourage you all to try out this new stuff we're going to talk about and add it to your process today on LinkedIn. So with all that being said, Jenna, I'll let you just real quick intro. If no one has heard you on the call here before, I just want you to get that familiarity, and then we'll hop into it.
Cool. My name's Justin Welsh. I spent the last 5 years growing a business here in Los Angeles called Patient Pop. I was the SVP of sales. Grew that business from a couple of guys and gals in a WeWork and $0 up to about 60 million in recurring revenue in just 4.5 years. Prior to that, I was the 10th employee at a $2 billion business where I started again in just like a dorm room with some folks called ZocDoc in New York City. A lot of y'all might have heard of that. I was there for about 5 years in various leadership roles. So after 10 years in really fast growing startup companies in New York and LA, I opened my own advising firm here about 7 months ago. And I advise SMB SaaS founders on growing their business from 0 to 50 million in recurring revenue like I have a few times.
Awesome. And we're going to go back and forth today. I'm going to do tactical. Justin's going to give you some tactical stuff and also some things that he's seeing from a leadership standpoint. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. And first and foremost, before we go into it, shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to SalesLoft. Shout out to VillainoSoft, LeadIQ, Gong, Dialpad, and WorkRamp. They've been great partners and sponsors, and they help us do these workshops and also do the webinars that we do here as well. So just want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Before we go into what we're covering, so for those of you taking notes here, we're going to talk about how to create a LinkedIn profile the right way. We're going to talk about methods to identify leads with the right personas and industries. We're going to talk about how you develop a social listening cadence and how do you use these tactics and these strategies to go schedule meetings, which is what you all care about at the end of the day. So first of all, why should you guys care about LinkedIn prospecting? So I did a little bit of research. As it stands today, there's 660 million people on the LinkedIn platform. 50% of those people are B2B buyers in some way, and they're looking at making a decision before they even do anything. They go to LinkedIn, and 92% of B2B marketers say that they prefer to communicate on LinkedIn. So for those people who are targeting marketing, marketers, you should be paying attention to this. And so, as we both know, personal branding is big, right? It's massive right now. And you should be focused on there because this allows you to prospect people on their terms. And also at the same time, they can see your profile, they can look at your website, and it's a great way to interact with those individuals. And also, people are starting to trust emails less. Executives are getting 100 to 200 sales emails per day. So LinkedIn is just another avenue that you can take that allows it to be less noisy and embrace them in a social world. And so as we talk about a lot of stuff today, the reason that LinkedIn is a great place to prospect is because it allows for people to see who you are and what you're about. And Justin had a great conversation. And Justin, I want you to dive into that because the concept that you had on why LinkedIn is so important, especially to prospecting, was very insightful. And I know everyone else here will get the same value that I got from it.
Yeah, as an executive, a former executive at a really, really big startup where everyone was trying to sell me something on a regular basis, I will tell you, I don't know how many people ended up making this. I think there was over 1,400 registrants for this webinar. But at the conclusion of this webinar, all 1,400 of you could send me an email, and there is a 0% chance that I'm going to respond to it. And I'm not trying to be mean or nasty or rude. It's just my email inbox gets crushed every single day from a million different people trying to get a hold of me. And in our lifetime right now, ignoring email has become totally normalized, right? We all just completely ignore emails. And even if someone gets us on the phone cold and they're like, did you get my email? Oh, I must have hit spam, or oh, I didn't see it, or oh, whatever. We always have a million excuses because ignoring email is normalized. And right now, having LinkedIn DMs, voicemails, video mails is a lot like having an executive's mobile number. And if you've got friends who send you a text, send you a message on Instagram, shoot you a LinkedIn DM, ignoring those hurts a lot more than ignoring an email. It's really, really painful and really, really personal to ignore someone on different platforms. So LinkedIn is a great place for you to put yourself in front of an executive and be totally outside of the world of email. So if you can take away one thing, it's that email is so difficult and LinkedIn DMs convert at such a higher level because they're personal. And if you want to improve the likelihood that you're going to get a response from someone like me, you have to look like a professional. And see, LinkedIn is different than email, right? You can throw a headshot in email, I get it, in your signature, but LinkedIn is like you. It's like your baseball card. It's like who you are. I get to see your picture. I get to see your career. I get to see your school. I get to learn everything about you. And if I see you everywhere, the likelihood of me responding is so high, right? If I see you in comments, creating content, writing articles, adding value, standing out, I start to associate your LinkedIn DM with what I see you doing in the ecosystem, and suddenly you become a familiar face. And so personal branding really ties in because you got to make sure that you look the part. If the only time I see you is selfie in your car, having a beer with a friend in your LinkedIn profile picture, your tongue sticking out, that's just not going to work for me, right? Yeah. I don't want to talk to a child. I want to talk to a professional. I want to talk to somebody who can help me fix my problems, help me solve my challenges, who has done that for someone like me. And LinkedIn today is the only ecosystem where you can do that. And to me, that is why it is the #1 platform for getting access to folks like myself and other executives.
Absolutely. And you guys all need to think about this, to Justin's point, as digital currency. And more so, obviously, as real estate. The more that you comment, the more that you the more that you share insights from your own company or what you're doing is going to prevalate on the platform. I believe the stat, there's only 1 to 5% of people that are actively posting on LinkedIn. So with that stat I just gave you all, you can easily just make a couple likes and a couple comments and be in front of people's faces. Just like if there was a billboard on the street or if there's an ad on TV, I believe that the digital currency on LinkedIn is more prevalent than ever before. And that's what we're going to talk about. How do you prospects here, but also we talked about, hey, you can build a brand here as well. And it doesn't have to be selfie videos. You don't have to have a YouTube channel and a podcast. It's as simple as liking and commenting on subject experts in your field so they know who you are, and then you can build within that network and get in that circle as well. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about how to create a LinkedIn profile the right way. So I've seen a lot of LinkedIn profiles, and we're going to show an example of what looks right so you guys can do that. But what you want to stay away from is you don't want to talk about yourself. You want to talk about how do you help your clients? How do you help your future customers? And you don't want to make it salesy because that's not going to help you convert. And so ultimately, you have to focus on this being the movie trailer for your clients. Just as when you go to YouTube and you watch a movie trailer, you're like, man, that's going to look amazing. I remember the first time I saw the Avatar movie trailer. It's one of my favorite movies. I was like, yo, I got to go see this in 4D, right? Because of the movie trailer. And so if you don't have that movie trailer for your clients, they're not going to look forward to responding to your messages, responding to your website or your content or the webinar to sign up to if you don't have that clean and professional profile that Justin was talking about. So make sure that when you're going about and making this profile, and again, we're going to show a live example here, that you're addressing how you help clients and not all about yourself.
Definitely. And I think, Morgan, just to kind of add on to that, like,
yeah,
it should be really crisp and clean around who you are, who do you help, and what challenges do you solve, right? Like, I know my clients are SMB SaaS founders, as I mentioned in the beginning. Now I'm doing consulting and advising for SMB SaaS founders. And I know the challenge that most early stage SMB SaaS founders face, which is scaling sales. So if you look at my bio, my headline, it's really simple. Who I coach SMB SaaS founders to do what? To accelerate recurring revenue towards 50 million. It's my who and my what. Just like when I see salespeople out there who are creating their LinkedIn profile and it says like account executive at XYZ company, sales development rep at, ABC company. Who cares? I can scroll down to your career section and see what position that you have today. I know what position you have, what company you work for. I understand the roles and responsibilities. But in 2 seconds, kind of like a call to action on a landing page or a website, I've got to see that really quickly. Who do you help and what challenges do you help them solve? So if your LinkedIn bio and headline is not focused on that very quick hitting kind of sentence, then you need to rearrange it and make sure that you're sharing who do I help? Who do I work for? Who do I help? And what challenges do I solve?
And that lobbies right into this example. So I'm going to show you guys what mine looks like. I've made some modifications if you go look at mine now, but this is what I created as a couple months ago as an example. Now, first and foremost, we just talked about AE, SDR, sales manager. There's a lot of AEs, there's a lot of SDRs, and there's a lot of sales managers. So that, again, doesn't make you stick out, does not make you unique at all. And that's going to end up no pattern, and that's not a good movie trailer for the prospect. So here you notice I'm directly talking about who I empower, what I'm doing, so then you know immediately from my headline when I make a comment or when I like what I'm about, which is the most important thing. So you see, hey, I'm empowering sales teams to become prospecting rock stars. I'm doing it at Jay Barrows, JB Sales. I'm the host of the SEO Chronicles, which is my YouTube and my podcast. And then I was a LinkedIn top sales voice in 2018 and also 2019, but that's what I've added as well. So you see here that all the stuff that you need to know about me real quick, in 5 seconds, you figure out, okay, Morgan helps sales teams. So if I need help with my sales team, I can go to him. He also has a podcast. If I want to learn some insights, I can go learn that as well. And then you also see, oh, okay, you were on LinkedIn top sales voice. If I need sales advice, I probably should go to him. So immediately in 5 seconds, I've clarified how I help people and how I can assist or help your company moving forward. So again, that's that critical piece that you see right there. And you want to make sure you have a headline that talks about how you empower, help, or assist an organization or an individual or whatever product or whatever industry that you're in. This headline is incredibly important. All right, so now that we get the headline down, next is you want to do the about section. So you want to make sure that you're talking about yourself and creating a human level interaction. So you see here, I talk about how I'm a sales rep who happens to be a sales trainer. I talk about the opportunity that I've been blessed with. And then I also talk about what I do, what are my core values, and then what I'm doing when I'm not working. So again, you can create that humanity level there. Now you guys can take this exact framework that I have, you can use it on your profiles. And this is fundamentally has helped me out a lot because people could come to my profile and there's no questions on what I do. They know. So they directly have the questions of, hey, I want to schedule time to talk to you about trading SDRs. Or, hey, I want to talk about how do you post content every single day. So there is no questions. There is no confusion. There's clarity for anyone who's looking at my profile to know what they're going to talk to me about. And I've created some humanity here by telling you what I'm doing when I'm not working. And I've also told you, hey, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis and what I see myself as. So this is like my story. And everyone, you all on this call today, you all have a story on why you joined your organization and why you do what you do. And I encourage you to really think about, again, if you screenshot this framework, go ahead and do it. But this is how I framed it out. And again, it just makes it a lot clear for what people are going to talk to me about.
Yeah, and Morgan, if you don't mind me jumping in
Go
just
ahead,
real
man.
fast, I wanted to add something. I know we're not supposed to like do Q&A, but I just happened to, my eyes just kind of went to the side, and I saw a question pop up that was a good question, and I think a young lady asked, my company does like 3 different things, right? How do I capture that, right? And it's hard. It's hard because really you should be really focused on a niche. But like one way, and I'm just one off the cuff, so like it might not be the best example, but it's like I'm thinking for sales, need help filling your funnel, can't close deals, contract value too low, connect with me to learn how to fix those problems. Like that would be a way that I like posed 3 very specific value props from your company, and then it had a call to action, click with me to solve, or check out my case studies, or that's exactly what I do, period. Like there's a way that you can actually be more than just niche focused, but you really need to understand, and I think Morgan, you're going to talk a little bit more about this, who your ideal customer is, right? You need to be focused on your ideal customer. And one thing that I want to just piggyback on, which I think is so smart, is in your about section, don't be boring. Everybody's got a story. As boring as you think your story is unique and different than everybody else's story. And a lot of times prospects feel this real human connection. Like I've taken cold calls because the person went to Ohio State, it's where I went to school. I've taken cold calls when the person went to Michigan and made a great Ohio State, Michigan joke. Right? And that's a big rival. Like be humanistic, be yourself, be humorous, be funny, be self-deprecating, tell your true story. It's a great place to do that, and I wouldn't make it robotic.
Absolutely. And I cannot tell you how many times, Justin, that I've used not only the stuff that's in the about section to call someone, like you said, but a lot of the times people look at my about section and we have a really good conversation about movies, books, and video games, and that they brought up when we were on our calls, and it helps out a lot, especially when you have a lot of colleagues in your organization. It's just another great way to connect with them. So to Justin's point, don't make it boring. You all have a story to tell and you want to make it insightful. And also I really like Justin's point on the questions, because that leads to the next point here. So what you'll see here is in your job description, you can write and put certain media. Now I have the media here is podcast links and blog links. But just as Justin said, you could put testimonials inside of this media. And I've changed that to what that is now is testimonials and case studies are in here. But again, just showing you guys an example of what you could do. Now, on top of that as well, the questions is great because you can be like, hey, connect with me in my job description to learn more. Website is there. Testimonials are there. So to answer Erica's question, which I believe who asked that, which is a great question, you can either separate it with 3 buckets of questions like Justin had, or you can go use my headline, depending on your ideal customer profile. But you want to make sure that those are focused on the decision makers. So let's look at this job description, right? In here, I don't mention at all that I won the President's Club or, hey, I'm the top rep in the company. I guarantee you guys, nobody on this call, and if you have, we can talk after, but I guarantee you none of you on this call have ever closed a deal because the prospect is you. Like, you know what? I looked at your profile and you've been on the president list 5 times. That's why we're moving forward. That's not your life, because you know that's not going to happen. So don't put that on your profile at all, because that's not going to help you close any deals. The only time you're going to do that is if you're looking to move potentially, and maybe you want to put that because you know you're looking for a new job and you want to put your previous experience on there and you're open to the marketplace. But besides that, we're here to hit quota. Take out president's list, take out number 1 sales rep, take out top performer. Your prospects don't care about that, so completely take it out and talk about either why you've joined this organization or what your organization's about, so your clients know what's going on.
Totally, man. It used to be that LinkedIn was a job hunting site.
Yeah.
So you used to come on, used to be like number 1, number 2, number 5, number 7, whatever, like your ranking was. And that's cool. Like I get it. Like there are definitely parts on my LinkedIn profile where I talk about some milestones that I've achieved. My milestones are more relevant to my customer, and that's why they hire me. But here, like if I was thinking about my previous job when I was coaching the team and managing the team at Patient Pop, it might be like I've helped 1,300 physicians grow their practice, streamline their front office, and modernize their patient experience. Like, to me, that's what a physician is looking for. And when you have these case studies or these white papers where you get to put a link and someone can click in, those are small. They're little tiny squares. So go into canva.com, and create a cover, right? And create a cover and just talk about the challenge you solve. Need more pipeline, question mark? Click on here, get the case study. You know, want to build better bottom of funnel close rates? Click here, get the case study. Like for Patient Pop, like, are you a new doctor? Question mark, need new patients? Click on here for the case study. Go design those in big, bold fonts in Canva so that people understand what they're clicking on so that they can solve the challenges that they actually want to solve. To me, I use Canva for creating really cool, unique covers.
Yep, and I just put it in the chat for you guys. Go check that out, canva.com. I use that as well. So again, on those squares you guys see right there at the bottom, that's where you would have put that. So that's how you create your LinkedIn profile. Now that we have the mood trailer in place, we got to figure out who are we looking to get to this profile. So the easiest way to do this is know your ideal customer profile in your organization. It's somewhere, whether your sales leader has it, marketing has it, product team has made it, it's somewhere. So go figure that out. For those of you who've been in sales for a while, you know what that is. Essentially, it's just the personas and the decision makers you're going after. And then from there, look at clients that are in your CRM. This is important because you can see what territories, if you're not territory based, what territories are buying the solution, who in what regions are you talking to that's getting results, what buyer personas are the people that are taking the calls and moving forward with you. This is just important to observe the customers that are coming to you already, so that you know who to connect with and that you want on your profile. So then everything that we talked about and mapping out your profile to using Canva, to your headline, to your about page is directly correlated to what the prospect's needs, challenges, or obstacles are. So then they know that it's just a mirror image of what they're looking at. And it's super helpful when they come to your profile so they're not lost. And additionally here, you'll see on this slide is how you can think about it. Now, every organization is going to be different. I know there's a lot of people on this call, but I'm just going to give you the high level. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. So Tier 1, these are highly targeted accounts. This is where you have gone and looked at, okay, these are people, top logos we're trying to go after. And you'll see that each of these categories is what's in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So as you're looking at who needs to come to your profile, it's just super important to figure out who do you want to target. And that's what comes down to here is knowing what they're in Tier 1. And then you'll notice as well, Tier 2 is targeted. So those are the people that aren't in the high profiles and the net new logos you might try to obtain. But these are the volume plays that you're looking to get to, which we'll explain when we get to engagement. And with the Tier 2s, really the goal is that you're trying to go after them with messaging that's relevant to them, but it may not be as personalized. Relevant means it's just focused on their priorities and challenges, but all that is then mapped back to the profile that you have based on your job descriptions and based on your about page. And then Tier 3 at the end of the day is just practice. Those are just accounts that may come through marketing, may come through a form fill, etc., that don't maybe have as much interest, but you can still try out these new techniques that we've been talking about on them when it comes to LinkedIn prospecting. But everything I just showed you on the left is what you can be looking for in your CRM. What locations have we sold a lot to? What industries have we sold a lot to? What's the normal company headcount? Run that same profile on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you can use that to build your list to prospect. So go ahead and just use your client's data, go ahead and use your company's data, and just now put that in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and that will allow you to then do this social listening and this execution that we're going to do. And I just got a point there.
That's right. And one of the key things that I see people miss is industry. And so let me give you an example. I often get a lot of LinkedIn messages, emails, voicemails that say something to the effect of, hey, Justin, is your team struggling to generate pipeline? We've helped companies like Ford, Pepsi, IBM. I don't give a shit about those companies. No offense. Like they're not in my same lane. They're not my same size. They're not my same maturity. Like that is so irrelevant to my business. Now, when I was at Patient Pop and my big competitors were Dr. Logic, Doctor.com, like if you came to me and said, hey, we help companies like Doctor.com, Dr. Logic, and ZocDoc, 3x their pipeline last quarter, and I noticed you are our only healthcare technology company not involved with our software. Ooh, boy, I'm a lot more likely to respond to that voicemail, click reply in that email, or hit you back on LinkedIn than I am just because you're peppering me with a bunch of companies that I've heard about. I don't care what soft drink companies do. I care about what software companies do. So make sure that you're super targeted when it comes to industry. Don't mess that up.
That's critical because it is great that you're working with Coke, but that's not going to be relevant for the startup that has 10 people because it's not their business model.
Totally.
Great for your brand as an organization, not great for that context to that individual reaching out to.
Sorry, am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah, you can do your thing.
All right, cool. Sorry about that.
You can do your thing. So here, which is super important, is a tip. All right. If you're not using this already, I highly encourage you to focus in on this. So this is leads that follow your company. So if you go on LinkedIn Sales Navigator and search the stuff that we just told you to go talk about, job titles, industry, geography, etc. Once you have identified what those are, you then can put them inside of a search. And then once you put those top job titles, the industry, geography in a search, if you have people that follow your company, you can scroll to the far right on this tab and you have this thing called leads that follow your company on LinkedIn. Now, as a sales rep, SDR, it doesn't really matter. I still use it today. This was one of the most impactful tips that I found on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Because if they already follow your company, the conversation is going to be a lot easier at the end of the day because they click the follow button. So it's a lot easier for you to reach out to them, email, but also on LinkedIn. And the purpose of this is once you've identified the leads that follow your company by doing this search and looking at the tab, here is a message right here that you all can use. So you see right here, reach out to Adam here, and you see that, boom, reached out to him. I got a response. And then you see from there, it's good to go. So you guys can use the same exact framework that I have here. This is what I use to reach out. I see that he was following our company. I said it was great to connect. And then I asked the question on top of that. So that's what I did there. And that's what I did that piece. So again, you guys can see that as I was reaching out, I used this to connect with people in my network to create some more mutual connections. But also you see this led straight to a meeting, right? So that's an example you can use live right there. Now, next thing is we're talking about developing a social listening cadence. So really what social listening cadence is, all you have to do at the end of the day is leverage the insights that you're getting from the posts that are on the homepage or from individuals that are on directly LinkedIn. And so the thing here is you want to at least schedule out 30 minutes or 60 minutes of your time to do some social listening. This should be a daily habit that you have and allow you to understand what you're doing. And also the critical piece here, I know, again, everybody across the board is doing different things and they're targeting different people. So know where your audience lives. For example, we're talking about LinkedIn today. So you guys came on here knowing that it was on LinkedIn. But if I just said social selling, it could be Twitter. It could be maybe you're targeting people on Instagram. Maybe it's Pinterest. I don't know. I'm not on Pinterest, but maybe your audience lives there. But my whole point, though, is that know where your audience lives. And if you guys say, oh, wait, they're not on LinkedIn, I guarantee you they're somewhere. They might be on Reddit. I don't know. But you need to figure that out. And that's how you set up the proper tools to listen. For this example, I'm using LinkedIn. I am using another tool called Owler. If you guys check that out, Owler. I love that tool for getting insights. And I use Twitter. Those are my main ones that I use to listen. Everyone, again, is going to be different, but you need to leverage it in that way. And then also when it comes to listening, I know, Justin, you're going to touch on this in further detail than I'm about to right now because we talked about it. But always, if your connection is first or second to somebody on LinkedIn, you can see their activity history of what they've liked and commented and posted. I've used this a ton as an SDR and just today because if I know what you've liked and commented on, and I could use that on an email or a phone call, that shows that I've done my research and it does not take you that long to do. And it's very powerful because most reps won't do that. And it's a massive pattern interrupt. If I found that Justin liked a post, right, and it was pertaining to my solution and I can mention that and directly either screenshot that or call him on that, that's going to immediately get his attention.
Yeah, man. If this is like, this is probably the number one thing because everyone's trying to build automated tools for social listening. And like, I get the automation side of it. I totally do. But there's something to be said for really good manual social listening. So if you follow me or you followed me for the last couple of years, you can just look at my profile. You can look at my content and see who I interact with on a regular basis. I interact with my old VP, all the managers that reported to me, Kevin Dorsey, Derek Jankowski, Jesse Gittler, Davion Rolls, all those guys reported to me at my last job, and you can see me interacting with them on LinkedIn. You'll see Morgan, John Barrows, Jake Dunlap, Colin Cadmus, a bunch of people in my circle, right? And so the visibility into people's inner circle is one of the biggest professional benefits that LinkedIn has. Like, who do they talk to, interact with, spend time with, debate with? You want to learn that about each one of your marquee accounts. So if you got a marquee account and you know who your decision maker is, you better know their top 5 influencers, friends, colleagues, peers, whatever. You should make a list of that, right? And then go through that network to reach that person. Let me give you 2 examples. I'll give you an external example. A lot of y'all probably follow Colin Cadmus. Colin was the VP of sales at Doctor.com at the same time that I was the SVP of sales at Patient Pop. We were competitors. Neither of us are at our previous companies, right? But we are still close with one another. We chat on a regular basis. So if you told me, hey, I'm working with Colin and we did this with him at his previous business, you instantly stand out in the sea of cold, crap that I get all day. Now, another thing, an internal message that Gong used, I know they're the sponsor of this event, but this is a great story. One of their reps reached out to all my managers, Kevin, Derek, Jesse, Davion, everybody, gained a bunch of information about what we were struggling with at Patient Pop, which was getting visibility into our demonstrations, which is the challenge that Gong solves. They collected all that information, reached out to me once they had it and said, I talked to 5 of your managers and they all said the same thing. Do you think that we should have a 15-minute conversation about that? Powerful, like completely relevant, completely powerful. Man, my managers are all struggling with that. Holy shit, I better talk to somebody about that. I did
Yeah.
and ended up buying 130 Gong licenses. So like that's how you stand out as a business and reach an executive who's busy. Go low and then aim high. And that's a huge benefit that you can do on LinkedIn.
Yeah, gather insights and then use those insights to sell. And that goes into the art of engagement. Now I'm going to break this down what all this means, but I had a question. We have a question here from Nick because it directly correlates to where I'm about to go. He's saying, hey, if your prospects aren't necessarily on LinkedIn, is it still worth reaching out? Some may be, would you mix it up? My thing is, it doesn't hurt for you to mix it up because you don't, even though they may not be posting every single day, they may still be on there from time to time just to update themselves on what is happening in their industry. So these are things just to be mindful of across the board is mixing up that social strategy, mixing up your outbound strategy, because you don't know what people are going to respond to. That's why I always encourage people to do LinkedIn prospecting, emails, cold calls, voicemails, direct mail. You just don't know how someone's going to respond because you don't know how in the world they go about their day. So my answer to that is mix it up. If you find that you're not getting anything at all, then hey, maybe you take that step out, but you don't know until you dive into it.
Yeah, and I would just add, connect with every one of your customers on LinkedIn, right? And then finally, you're going to figure out the one customer or prospect of yours that's not on LinkedIn. But if you can find a customer of yours who is on LinkedIn that you're connected to, this is a great backdoor entrance to this non-LinkedIn prospect. So for instance, you sign up customer A and you want to sign up prospect B, but prospect B is non-LinkedIn, but you see that A and B are connected on LinkedIn. You reach out to your customer and you say, hey, how's everything going? It's great, amazing. I'd really like to get a hold of prospect B, but unfortunately, I do most of my prospecting on LinkedIn and I noticed they weren't there. Would you mind making an introduction via email, or do you have another channel that you might recommend that I use to get a hold of prospect B? I saw that you guys were connected. Use a current customer with a DM and have them connect you to a prospect who's not on LinkedIn. Like, there are a million different ways to get creative and use what you do on LinkedIn in beneficial ways.
Absolutely. And also for those who know, to Justin's point, there is an ask for referral button on LinkedIn. You can directly send it to someone who's a mutual connection and ask them, hey, do you know this person for a referral? And I've done that a lot. I did a lot as an SDR. I still do it today so that I can do it at volume and at speed, because I know everyone cares about doing things in a productive manner. You can be like, hey, do you know this person? They're going to be like, yep, no. And then you can have that referral right there on LinkedIn, which is a way faster response than it will be through email. So to Justin's point, it's just getting you guys the tactical stuff there. Now, the art of engaging to schedule meetings, there's 3 different formulas you can use to follow for LinkedIn connections. Now, with LinkedIn connections, most people don't respond to blank notes. I'm going to tell you guys why I have it here, but there are 3 different ways that I go about it. One is acknowledge or latent question. That first piece is I'm acknowledging you in some way based on what I've seen on your profile. This is just a base level example. So I said I'm impressed by your experience. But if you want to go granular, it could be, I see you're connected with these people and I am. Or, hey, I saw that you worked at these previous companies. Or to Justin's point, hey, we've worked with other companies that are in your space, right? That's how you acknowledge. Then relate. So relate is all dependent upon the priorities and challenges of the persona that you're going after. So as you see right here, baseline example, I just talked about, hey, I know one of the priorities is that they need to make impactful cold calls. That's a piece. Everyone has their priorities and challenges. That goes back to identifying your profile. Then a question. So this is a very open-ended question. This is a leading question that gets me into a conversation. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's great if someone does respond to this question, and they have before. But ultimately, my end goal is for them to accept the connection request. The direct note, as you see here, the direct note just tells you, hey, if you're willing to connect, I'm going to chat with you about this. So it's basically, hey, look, like if you accept this, I'm about to pitch you, right? So I like this one because, especially for C-levels, I've seen that they accept this a good bit just based on my own outreach. And they're like, hey, where's the pitch at? And here I come. Blank note, the reason that this is here, for all of you guys who are targeting IT and people that are in the data field, we found that by just working with different reps in that field and through the trainings I've done, we found that the blank note has more of an acceptance rate than the 2 other formulas I just gave you in IT and in data. Now, this is not for sales leaders. This is not for marketing leaders and HR. That's different because they get blank notes all the time. I'm just talking about IT and data. They receive a ton of these and they know it's a sales, so they'll delete. But if you send a blank note, you have a higher chance of converting. And that's from reps who are in the trenches targeting IT and managers that I'm talking to. So I just wanted to give you guys that lay of the land. And we're going to talk about ways how do you engage here. We're about to go into Q&A. But these formulas is how I go about reaching out to people to get them connected first degree when I'm looking to sell them.
Yeah, totally. And like for me, if you're coming after someone like myself or a VP or a C-level executive, especially on the revenue side, like make it stand out. In the way that you can make it stand out is by getting a little more granular with your personalization. I get a ton of connection requests and messages on LinkedIn that are like, hey, saw you on a podcast. Great. Like I'm on a lot of podcasts. Which one,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I also get like messages from people that say like, hey, I saw you at SaaS or Scale talking about, you know, how to build your company culture, and I printed out your 8-step guide and I gave it to my management team, and we've been implementing a lot of your feedback and it's been really awesome. Thanks so much for that. By the way, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And I'm just way more likely, listen, everybody's got an ego. Right? Like it just is what it is. Everyone likes to hear that you did something that was impactful to their business. Like I'm not beating around the bush. Everyone has an ego. Everyone likes flattery. And if you do a really good job of personalizing, getting really custom, you have a great opportunity to connect with that person. And then like get to the point. Right? Morgan and I were chatting about this the other day. I get a million different DMs that are like, hi, how are you? Block. Nope. I don't have any time for like, how are you?
You know
right?
where that's going.
I'm running around like a crazy person. Like just get to the point, right?
Yeah.
And so like make it personal and custom, and then use what you learned in social listening. Hey, saw you on stage, loved the point, spoke to Derek, Jesse, and Kevin. Here are 3 things I learned. Do you think it's worth 15 minutes of your time? You are way more likely to get a meeting with myself or someone like me in my position if you just come direct, you're super relevant and personal, and you use the information that you've gathered from my direct reports. Those are 3 huge tips that I would use.
Absolutely. And if you guys are writing this down as we go into, make sure that you're not asking like, how are you doing? We're going to show you examples of not to do that and get you some meetings here. But these 3 examples, blank note, IT and data, for those who are taking notes here, make sure if you're targeting those, do your blank notes. Direct notes, these are really great for C-levels because it's getting direct to the point, just like Justin says. If they accept it, that means they're willing to chat with you. And then 1 is, those are really good for managers and directors that I've seen. They're willing to engage with you on those questions. I found that a C-level most likely isn't going to answer that question because they're on the move. So that's just based on my own data and what other reps have seen. Now, if you guys follow me, you guys know this is the thing I'm probably the most hyped about of all time. And most people say it doesn't work. It does work for those of you who have never seen this before. This works internationally. It's worked in APAC, EMEA, in the States, in Canada, because we got a lot of people from different places. This has worked with CTOs. Fortune 500 companies have responded to this. It's worked with VPs. This works. Now, what I'm showing you on the right is what I did. So in a month's time, I sent out 125 voice messages. I got 50 responses in 25 meetings. So if you want to really break that down, it's a 40% response rate, 20% meeting efficiency rate, and then out of those 25 meetings, 7 businesses closed. And then out of those 7 ended up being one of our biggest clients that we got. So on top of that, the real reason that this works is because it's a pattern rep. We just talked about Justin's getting how you're doing today. If Justin gets a voice message or a video message that I'm about to show, he's going to be like, what is this? Which is going to prompt him to listen to it. So that's the main reason that these responses are here. And now for the caveat, these are all net new people that I did this on to see if it even worked. And the only caveat here is you can only do it on your mobile device, and you have to be first degree connected with the prospect. Because if it wasn't first degree connected, I guarantee you I'd be sitting here making voice messages, and I probably wouldn't be on this webinar. I'd just be booking meetings, right? So the whole thing is with this LinkedIn voice message, you want to follow this formula for those of you who are taking notes. It's 10, 30, 10. First 10 seconds is focus on getting their attention. Now, Justin gave you all some great examples. Maybe it was a podcast. Maybe it was a talk. Talk about what you learned on that podcast or from that talk. Don't be like, hey, saw you on a podcast, and then go in your pitch. That's not enough. Heard you on the podcast. This is what you talked about. And then it goes to the next piece, which is the 30 seconds, the value prop. Now, everyone's value prop is different, but it really is at the end of the day is what is the end result that they should have? And then how can you help them get the most out of what your solution is? So it's your 30-second elevator pitch, right? Everyone has that. It's essentially what you would say on the phone. Last 10 seconds is the call to action. So that's, do you want them 30 minutes of your time? Are you going to meet them at an event? Do you want them to sign up for a webinar, something like this? Or do you want to give them an ebook? Whatever it is. It's that call to action. So to rehash that for those who's taking notes, 10, 30, 10. 10 seconds, I'm getting your attention in some way. I most likely have done some research or know about your persona or clients I've worked with that are like you. 30 seconds is your elevator pitch value prop, similar to cold calling. 10 seconds is that call to action, set up a meeting, etc. And then from that, so you guys understand the UI of how this works, 60 seconds at max is how you can do your voice message. But this voice message has allowed me to schedule, again, a lot of meetings as you see right here, and a lot of clients are using this for success, and it's another pattern up on top of that.
Yep. I took a meeting with a guy the other day, cold, and I very rarely do that. And he was really interesting. He followed this pattern, right? But he gave me an interesting CA at the end, an interesting call to action, where he said, listen, I know you're busy. Give me 15 minutes on your calendar, and if after the first 5 minutes, it's not relevant or you think there's no value, we can hang up.
I like
that. I was like, I got 5 minutes. It was interesting enough where I was like, cool, that it kind of felt like an opt-out. Yeah, I'll give them the 5, and if it's not cool, I'll tell them I'm busy. But if it's interesting, I'll give them the additional 10. And it didn't seem like a large commitment for me. So I thought that was creative and unique and something worth trying, worth testing.
That's awesome. And you guys should take tips of that. I might start using that. So you guys see this right here, last piece, and then we'll go to Q&A because I see some questions flowing through and we'll get to them. This is a video, and this leverages LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, what you can do is you can look at where people have previously worked at. So for the example here, John has trained Salesforce, a lot of reps there. So I went on LinkedIn, looked at all the previous people that used to work at Salesforce, and then looked at VPs and CROs. And this person right here that responded responded, he is a CRO. So I went after him. So I sent him a video. My videos are less than 90 seconds. Same formula that I just gave you guys. And he responded. He trained with John at Salesforce. They have a need for training. And we have a calendar call booked. And we're continuously having a conversation about sales training. but just showing you guys another easy way to get meetings. Look at your big ticket clients, massive enterprise clients, or if you don't have enterprise clients, biggest clients that you have. Then look at all the people that previously worked there, reach out to them, tell them that you're working with their previous company, and then that will allow you to get some really high value clients here, just as I scheduled this meeting. So again, showing you video on LinkedIn, but also showing you how you can leverage it with LinkedIn Sales Navigator and prospect it in an easy and simple way.
And I know this, Dustin, and you've never met me. We met through LinkedIn, Morgan's. Now you've got a LinkedIn connection, which connects me and you to Dustin, and I can help you close that deal because I know that guy.
There we go. Boom. There you go. Didn't even know that. And here we go, right? We're meeting for lunch in Chicago, so that's
nice.
awesome.
I know exactly who it is. Good.
That's awesome. So you see, guys, this is how LinkedIn works. Live examples. We didn't even plan that. So as you see right here, guys, that's the end of this. And I know we have questions here, so I'm going to stop the share. Again, this is where I'm at. And you guys saw where Justin's handles at. I know, Justin, we're going to dive into some questions here. And let's see what's going on. So question here is from Sean Crimmins. He asked, what do you recommend? In-mails, connection requests, or both?
You want to go ahead and take it?
Yeah, I would say in-mails, and I know where Justin's going from this, and even speaking to John, I've seen that in-mails go straight to the trash can now. Now, I'm not saying for you not to use them, and I'm not saying that they're dead, because nothing's dead, so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying they're going to be way less effective. The connection request is going to be way more effective for you, because once you're first degree connected, you don't have to waste a credit to message them. It's a free message. The in-mail, you waste credits and you also waste your time creating a message. So I've seen people get responses for them. I'm not knocking them, but it's going to be less effective for your time based on where we're going on LinkedIn. But I'll let Justin add context to that.
In-mail is PPC. It's an ad. I delete them all. I don't even look at them. Like, to me, it's just like it's pay-per-click advertising. It's just, to me, when I see it come across, I know it's a executive recruiter or someone trying to sell me offshore IT work, and so it just goes right to my trash can. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Can I grab one of these questions here?
Go. Yeah, we can just go back and forth. Grab it.
Awesome. I see one from Jamie Nikosi. What's up, Jamie? Jamie and I used to work together at ZocDoc back in the day. She said, can you speak more to your example of someone reaching out to your management team? How did they initially reach out, and what was the messaging like? And Jamie, I would say, like, there's two types of connections, right? There's a lot of types of connections, but here's how I think about it. The connection from my management team to me is upwards, right? They're going to go and you're going to get that information. You're going to go upwards. The easiest way to get connected with my management team and have relevant messaging is either upwards from their reps, and it's easy as someone to connect peer-to-peer. So if you're an account executive who's targeting the VP of sales, you get in with the reps, you get enough information, you get in with the managers, you get enough information, you get in with the VP, you work all the way up. Or you can come in sideways, right? So like Jamie, if you were prospecting Derek Jankowski or Kevin Dorsey or Jesse Gittler, you might find a peer who's very similar to them that you already work with, ping them, and you're much more likely to get a response from a manager than you are a VP and say, hey, Derek, I work with 3 other managers in your industry that are very similar to you. Here's a challenge we help you solve. Can I take 10 minutes of your time? You get 4 connections with my management team and then work upwards. So it's really cool to work both sideways and up, or from the bottom up all the way to the top. That's how I think about working through LinkedIn and what's worked well to get to me.
Great answer. I think that's really great. Getting that information from the bottom and going up. Make sure you guys use that tip. I got another one here from Jamie. What's Nikosi here? What's the cadence? Is the audio message the first touch, second touch? Have you sent an email to them already? All right, so Jamie, here's my answer. My very first touch in all my outbound campaigns is a LinkedIn touch. I use one of the 3 formulas that I showed you all. Then as a follow-up, the second day, day 2, is an email. That email does not mention that I sent them a LinkedIn connection request. It's completely separate. The last thing that I do, which is day 3. So day 3, if they have accepted the LinkedIn connection request from day 1, then I send them a LinkedIn voice message or I do a video. And then on top of that, on day 5, I then follow up with that voice message that I use. And in that voice message follow up, all I say is, hi, let's say if I'm talking to Sally, hi, Sally, any feedback on my voice message? Because feedback can be positive, neutral, or negative, and it doesn't say like any thoughts or bulbous back up to the top. So essentially that creates a pattern up for them to respond on what their feedback is. So Jamie, that's how I go about my audio message. I normally do it as a third touch, if you want to clarify that. Day 1, LinkedIn connection request. Day 2, email. Day 3, I'm sending a LinkedIn voice message.
Cool. That's great, man. Adam writes in, Adam Elzine wrote, do all prospects necessarily read notes? This is something I'm pretty passionate about, which is the answer is no, of course not. Not all prospects read notes. But sales, when I'm working with like prospects, like SDRs or account executives who are doing their own prospecting, I try to get them out of a mindset of do X. Like never does everybody do everything, right? That's not the game of sales. It's all about increasing likelihoods, right? So let me tell you this. If you send 100 cold emails, the likelihood of getting a response is very limited, probably 1%, if not less, right? But if you customize and personalize a LinkedIn message to 100 prospects, yeah, not all of them are going to read the notes, but you've improved or increased the likelihood that they will read and respond to your note. Remember, sales is a game of compound interest, right? Everything that you throw in the top of the funnel has to have compound interest as it moves down. So if you can get 3 times better here and 2 times better here and 1.5x better as you move through the funnel, what comes out the bottom of the funnel is going to be much larger than if you don't increase your likelihoods. So don't worry about, will they all read my notes? Just worry about a much larger majority of them will read your notes, and that's why you should do it.
Great. Love that. Blake Johnson, he said, as an SDR, is it okay if we reach out to those customers and ask for the reference from a current customer, or should we coordinate with the AE over that customer? So I would say it depends on how your organization is shaped up. I would say at the end of the day, if you're going to reach out to that current customer, I would just make sure that they're working with someone in customer success, obviously. So I would talk to the person in customer success to see what you can do for that reference. So by putting those two together, you should have great conversations. So more so you're leaning on the customer success more so than the AE, because customer success will have more insights for you. And then you can use it like, hey, I'm just looking to build my network. Is it okay if I connect with these customers? And they should tell you, yeah, that's fine. And then if you want to use as a reference, connect with your customer success people.
Here's a great question from David. Justin, as a sales rep who hypothetically wants to get in contact with you to close business, what's the most effective outreach to grab your attention out of everything we discussed today or outside of this? All right. So to me, and most like folks that are in this role, time is currency, right? So like I only care mostly about my time. So I love LinkedIn video messages because they're quick. So even if you can shorten that video message to 15 seconds and you jump on, you're like, hey, heard you on X, thought about Y, listen to Z, amazing. Got 10 seconds for you. Here's what I want to know. X, Y, Z, thanks, Jim, right? Like very, very quickly get to the point. But the thing that you have to be referencing is a challenge that you know that I have. And the biggest way to find out for me if I have a challenge is I usually go ape shit on Twitter when I have a problem. So you can go follow me on Twitter, Justin Sass, SAAS, and you'll see that when I get upset with a software company or I get upset about something that's not working right, I usually tweet at them. It's a great place to find my challenges. So for instance, I have a website. And the other day it wasn't working right. And so I tweeted real nasty message at the website company in order to get their attention. Now, if you would have gone and done some quick Googling and helped me out to fix that, you could have hit me with a LinkedIn video message, be like, hey man, saw you had this problem. I know how to fix that. Give me 15 minutes of your time. I'll show you how. I got to pitch you on something. Like I would have come back at that nonstop. I'm very unique in that way where like, let's barter for time and energy. And that's how I work. So that's me personally.
No, I think that's spot on. And the more personal you can make it, the more fun you make it. That's the whole goal there. And Jamie, to answer that question, I use Drift Video because of the chat feature, but also had another question here that I just saw, which was any tips or tricks on custom lead lists you built out in Sales Navigate that worked for you? And then Pat said, go Bucks. So there you go. But on top of that, I would say the lead list is critical because what I did as an SDR, even today, I made a list of people that I scheduled meetings with. Now, if you're an SDR BDR, you should do this because this is a game changer. Every single person that you call, email, social touch, whatever it is, and you schedule that meeting, create a lead list of all those people that you scheduled a meeting with. And then when they change jobs and you get that alert, it's an easy call and easy email to then reschedule another opportunity. Same thing if you're an AE. I would use a lead list. Every person that you've closed, you should have a list. And then additionally as well, every single person that follows my company and their net new prospects, I have a list for. And then all the ones that are current customers that follow me are also a list as well, because if they move, I can reach out. And then all my other lists are previous clients that I've worked with. And then also the other list is previous people that worked at those clients' companies and now that they've changed. So that means that if they were all previously Salesforce, like I mentioned, I have a list of those people. All previously Zendesk, another example, we have all those previous people that worked there, and now I can see where they've gone as well. So those are the ways that I create the lead list, and that's how I converted a lot as an SDR, and that's still how I convert today.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of adding your customers to LinkedIn the minute they close and starting to comb their network. Like, to me, that's where I found all my business when I was a sales rep is I closed a customer, I figured out who they were connected with, and I worked off referrals, man. That's just how I worked my whole career, because I knew that I provided good service and that they were pleased and that they could introduce me to their connections. So connect with all your customers on LinkedIn. Don't ever forget to do that.
Yeah, it's critical. You want to take the next question here?
Sure. Let's see. Yeah, let's take a look here. Besides, will you send it out? Let's see. Matthew Moylan asks, is there any way to see revenue bands of potential LinkedIn accounts that you want to target? Matthew, I don't have like a very specific website to go to for revenue bands because a lot of companies don't make those public. But the best thing to do is to do two things. To go look at their LinkedIn company page and see how their sales and marketing team is growing over time. And you can usually take the number of sales and marketing reps that they have and figure out what one person's quota is, do some quick math and figure out about what revenue band they're in. And then you can cross-reference any information you get on the LinkedIn company page with sites like Crunchbase, Angel List, and all those different things where you might be able to figure out what their revenue is. Other than that, like, I don't have a specific site that you can go to, but some good cross-referencing and understanding what their company page says in terms of sales and marketing, then using company pages at Crunchbase will be helpful. Crunchbase.com.
Yeah, that's a great website. Great website. You guys definitely check that out. And then I know we have like a minute here, so we might get one or two here. So Justin Clean asks, how exactly do you start and execute the video message? So really simple. You can either use a drift video, like I mentioned. There's Vidyard, there's Loom, there's all sorts of video ones, like HIPAA. There's so many. But you can either use it through the desktop, like we are now, or you could just use your phone. And really, it's really simple. You want to make sure that it's less than 90 seconds. You don't want to see this as a YouTube video. I made the mistake. I would make like 3, 4, 5-minute videos of prospects, and that just doesn't work. So do less than 90 seconds here. And all you're doing is talking about, this is some research that I've done. Then you're going to talk about the value prop, again, like I talked about in the voice message. And then you're doing a simple call to action. So this is not anything crazy here. You're just doing the same format that you're doing with the voice message. You just want to make sure it's less than 90 seconds. And that's how you start, and that's how you execute it. And all you need to do is just manage your time effectively to do that.
Cool. I'm going to take one from Sammy Singh here, and then I might do a quick personal plug. Sammy asked, what's the best way to divide efforts between your BDR and yourself as an account executive? It's a great question, Sammy. Here's what I might recommend. If you're calling on multi-level accounts, like let's say you were calling on my previous business, Patient Pop, if you're an account executive, I would be calling those managers or LinkedIn messaging those managers, the Dereks, the Jessies, the Davions, the Kevins, some folks that I've been talking about, and then have your SDR be calling below them, be prospecting right below them. The information that you guys can gather on those two different levels is what eventually helps you move up the chain. So if your SDR is working with their SDR peers and they're, oh, man, we wish we had better leads or data, our data quality stinks and we can't reach anything. You're gathering that information. Your BDR gives you that information. You take it to the manager. Hey guys, chatting with a bunch of your SDRs, heard that data cleanliness was a problem with you guys. How are you guys handling that? Suddenly you get a bunch of information from the managers, and then you go above and you connect with myself and you say, like, we've talked with 10 of your SDRs, we've talked with 5 of your managers, number one challenge and pain point for your team's data cleanliness. How are you dealing with this as the guy who makes all the decisions? Like, I would respond to that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
So that is how I think about doing that. And it's a perfect segue to a personal plug for me. If y'all are struggling to figure out like how to do really well on LinkedIn and you want to get super granular, like playbook granular, worksheets, PDFs, like you really want to go and figure out like what I did, basically my story is I was invisible as all hell on LinkedIn for the last 14 months. And then 14 months ago, started really prospecting on LinkedIn, building my brand, went from about 2,500 followers to up on 30,000. And now I do this for most of the time. And I built something that's really cost effective for people like you guys. It's called the LinkedIn Playbook. And you can get it at the linkedinplaybook.com. That is the linkedinplaybook.com. And if you use coupon code Morgan, you can get 25% off. And I'm doing that for 48 hours. So if you want to get hyper tactical and you want to build your personal brand, it's all about personal branding. So the linkedinplaybook.com is a really good place to start. And I give you all a coupon, Morgan.
Awesome. And then as we wrap this all up, again, take the stuff that we talked about and use it. There's a lot of great insights that Justin and I just talked about. I want you guys to go and execute that. And then the last piece here, I'll give this last tip because this is the last tip I want to give, and then I'll wrap this all up. So Marco, last thing you said is, hey, how do we use video? This tip is critical for everybody. So if you have a sales engagement tool and you can see how many people view the email, if it's over 2, what you want to do is you want to move that person to a different cadence or sequence, call it the video cadence, and create a video personal for them. The problem with video is that you can't do a ton, right? So it's not going to work. But you want to do them one by one and contextualize it. So if I know if someone viewed an email over 2 times, they probably had some interest at the end of the day, but they probably were moving to a different meeting. So what I do is I just move them to a different cadence. I make sure it's personalized for them. And the statistics on that is I had a 68% open rate and a 27% response rate just by doing that tactic that I just told you all. So in terms of Marco, in terms of video, where do I do it? I normally do it in the middle of the cadence, and I see a lot of success there. And then last but not least, guys, if you found value from this webinar today, all I'm asking for is put a 1. We just want to see what value you got from this webinar today. Just put a 1. Justin and I have been prepping for this, so hopefully you guys saw some insights here. We got a 100. Okay, so we really did. We really took it to a whole new notch. All right, tons of 1. So hopefully that Justin and I, if you guys want to see this again, let me know. We might collab again. I don't know. The people might want to, Justin, could, depending on this chat right here. But across the board, if you guys are interested and you're in San Francisco, hit me up. We have a San Francisco workshop coming next Thursday, February 20th. So I know Ollie might drop that information in there, but we will have a whole workshop on techniques that go even deeper than what we talked about today if you're interested in San Francisco. So I appreciate all you just dropping in those 1s. Glad you saw value from this webinar. And again, we'll see you guys soon. And if you didn't get your questions answered, ask us on LinkedIn. We'll make sure to answer them.
Connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like.
All right, y'all. Appreciate it.